What's up everyone, Zach Seif here, and today we're going to be going over 8 interesting facts about Dream Theater's album, Octavarium. So I want to start a new series today where I take a specific record or a band that I'm a big fan of and try to dissect something about them, whether it's a specific album, maybe it's a concept that they write about often, maybe their musical style, what made them famous, something along those lines. And I figured that Octavarium by Dream Theater would be a great record to start with. This album is a little bit deeper than most people realize, and I'm not even talking about the lyrical content or the musical content, but rather the whole theory behind the record and what makes it so special and what makes it stand out from the rest of their discography. Starting with fact number 1, Octavarium is Dream Theater's 8th studio record release, and it is also the last record that they put out with Atlantic Records. Octavarium would go on to chart in 10 different countries, and its highest position in the US Billboard chart would be 36. The second fact is that this album, which we just said was their 8th, contains 8 songs on it. And the third fact, and this is what kind of starts to tie everything together, is the title of the album, Octavarium, right? An octave in music is the space from one note to the next note of the same name, higher or lower, and there's 8 notes in an octave. So what this means is that each track on the record is in a different key within an octave. The first track, which is called The Root of All Evil, starts in the key of F minor, and the final track on the record, which is Octavarium, is also in F minor, and each song is connected by a passing tone. So for those of you who aren't too involved in music theory, right, an octave is the space from one note to the same letter note, higher or lower, like I just mentioned, and we use each letter of the musical alphabet once, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it goes back to A. So since Octavarium starts on F, each letter is used one at a time as it goes up, and the tracks are as follows. The Root of All Evil is in the key of F. The Answer Lies Within is in the key of G. These Walls is in the key of A. I Walk Beside You is in the key of B. Panic Attack is in the key of C. Never Enough is in the key of D. Sacrificed Sons is in the key of E, and Octavarium is in the key of F. And all these songs are in their respective minor keys. And to make it even cooler, well, what about those other 5 black notes that are on the piano that weren't used, right? All the in-between notes, the accidentals. Well, all of the songs seg from one another, and whatever that seg music, that transition music is in that half-step incremental, which is super cool. Fun fact number 4 is that the first track and the last track are a continuous play on what we just talked about, the root of all evil, right? The root is what we call the home tone or the first note in a scale or the first note of the octave. So that's why the first track is called The Root of All Evil. And the closing track, which is the title track, Octavarium, means the octave of the octave. So this is some super nerdy music theory shit, but I think it's super cool and fascinating that they took a concept and they executed it flawlessly throughout the record. The next really interesting fact about Octavarium is the first track, The Root of All Evil, fades in from the last note on the band's previous record, Train of Thought, which is the song In the Name of God. And on Train of Thought, the first track on that album, As I Am, starts with a fade in from the end of the band's previous record, from that 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, the finale track. And to go one step further, the first song in 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence starts with a fade in from the end of the last note from the band's record before that, Scenes from a Memory, the track Finally Free. And Octavarium would be the last record to continue that little motif of picking up where the last one ended. And in fact, the very end of Octavarium ends the same way that The Root of All Evil starts. So the album itself is a continuous loop that you can listen to, and it'll start the same way that it ends, and vice versa. Fun fact number 6 is that the final track, Octavarium, is exactly 24 minutes long. And as we all know, 24 is evenly divisible by the number 8. Fact number 7 about Octavarium is that this is the first time that Dream Theater worked with a string orchestra as well as an ensemble on the record itself. There were orchestral elements in their previous records, but they were all played on keyboards and synthesizers by the player at the time. The answer lies within. Sacrificed Sons and Octavarium all feature an ensemble or quartet of sorts. These ensembles were conducted by Jamshid Shafri, probably pronounced that wrong, Jamshid Sharifi by Mr. Sharifi. And he would also be the conductor of the live ensemble when the band would go on to perform their score live concert, which would commemorate the 20th anniversary of the band's formation. And last but not least, the final fun fact about Dream Theater's 8th studio release, Octavarium, is that it was the final record recorded at the Hit Factory studio in New York, USA. The band entered the studio in September of 2004, and about halfway through the album or so, they noticed that things were starting to get moved around and people were starting to leave, and they were told by the staff there that when they were finished, then the studio would be closed for good. And drummer Mike Portnoy states that in February, when the record was completed, as soon as the band took their last piece of gear out, they closed the door behind them and they locked up for good. And that's all for today. I hope you all learned something really cool about this really fascinating record. It's a lot of nerdy music theory stuff, but nonetheless, I found it very fascinating and I wanted to share this with all of you. So what did you all think of this new video series? I hope that this is something I can continue to do. Feel free to leave below in the comments a band or an album that you would like me to dive deeper into, and I'll see what I can do. Until next time, as always, keep on rocking, stay safe, and keep on practicing.